Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving into an update that tackles one of the biggest headaches for web developers, that dreaded unexpected connection drop. We're breaking down everything new in WebForm Framework version 12.0.9, and more importantly, what it means for you and your apps. Let's get right to it. So, you know the scenario, right? You've built this slick, real-time web app. It's working flawlessly. But then your user is on the move. Maybe they walk out of their house and their phone switches from that stable Wi-Fi to 5G, and poof, the connection dies. The app freezes. It's a classic, super frustrating problem we've all faced. Yeah, this whole connection loss thing has been a nagging issue for ages. But the team behind the WebForm framework has decided to tackle this problem head-on in version 12.0.9. And they've come up with a really clever solution that just might make these interruptions a thing of the past. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into the big one, solving unstable connections. Then we'll look at some new tools for developers. After that, we'll touch on security, cover some important fixes, and finally, talk about how easy it is to upgrade. All right, first up, and honestly, this is the main event, solving those unstable connections. This is all about keeping your application humming along, staying alive and responsive, even when your user's network is, well, less than reliable. The heart of this update is a feature they're calling lossless communication. Now, the goal here is pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Create a connection between the browser and your server that's so resilient it can just shrug off network hiccups and switches without you even noticing. So, you're probably wondering, how did they actually pull this off? Well, it's not some kind of dark magic. It's actually a really smart and practical idea. A manual ping-pong system that's constantly checking on the connection's health. And here's how that simple but brilliant process works. The client, so the user's browser, sends a little ping over to the server. The server gets it and immediately sends back a pong. It's kind of like the client is just constantly asking, hey, you still there? And if the client doesn't get that pong back within a certain amount of time, it just assumes the connection's dead. And crucially, it automatically opens up a brand new WebSocket connection. That's the secret sauce right there. Now, out of the box, the client will wait 10,000 milliseconds. That's 10 seconds for that pong to come back. But the really great part for us developers is that this is totally configurable. You can tweak this heartbeat timeout using the set website heartbeat timeout method to get it just right for whatever your application needs. Okay, so connection stability is huge, but it's not all that's new. Version 12.0.9 also brings some pretty handy new developer tools to the party, giving you much more precise control over the DOM and how you handle data. If you've ever had to do complex traversals of the DOM tree, you are going to love these new helper methods in abstract HTML, like getParentChild link tags and getNextSibling. And for anyone wrestling with massive amounts of data, the JSON parser classes now have methods like toOutputStream and toBigJSONString, which are built to handle huge JSON objects way more efficiently. All right, let's talk about something no developer can afford to ignore: security. This new release actually bakes in some key improvements to help harden your app against unwanted changes happening right there in the browser. So here's the deal. This update basically puts a shield around the framework's core JavaScript objects. It makes them much tougher to mess with, either accidentally or maliciously, by other scripts that might be running on the page. You know, like a rogue browser extension or a third-party analytics script gone wild. This helps lock things down. The release notes really spell it out. This change is all about preventing other JavaScript files from mutating or deleting the framework's own objects. It's a really solid foundational security step that just adds another layer of protection and stability to your whole app. Of course, what's a new release without some good old-fashioned bug fixes and under-the-hood tweaks? This version is no different, and it brings even more stability and reliability to the framework. There are two key things to highlight here. First, they squashed a rare but pretty critical bug related to packet loss. And second, they improved the logic for how the framework handles a user closing a browser tab. That means cleaner, more reliable session management on your back end. It's all good stuff. Okay, so we've talked stability, we've talked new tools, we've talked security. Now for the million-dollar question every developer is thinking right now. What's it going to take to actually upgrade and get all this good stuff? And this is where we get to what might be the absolute best part of this entire release, especially for those of us who have deadlines breathing down our necks. That's right. You get all of these improvements with zero migration effort. The official release says it loud and clear. No code changes required. If you're on any previous 12.x.x version, you can just drop this in. That is fantastic news. So the main takeaway here is just crystal clear. Upgrading gets you a more stable, more secure application with better tools, and it's not going to cost you a single minute of refactoring code or fixing breaking changes. It is quite literally all upside. And that leaves us with one final and I think really exciting question to ponder. Now that the problem of unstable connections has been solved so elegantly, what does that unlock for you? What new, ambitious, real-time features that maybe seemed a little too risky before can you now build with total confidence? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.